Hello and welcome back to the channel. The SEC is not waging a war against Binance, Coinbase and Ripple. No, they are undoubtedly waging a war against crypto. A massive war. Everything but fair or according to any applicable rules. One thing to clarify, I am not providing financial or investment advice. If you like what I'm doing here, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, write in the comments and share this video because it's important to understand why all of this is happening. I would like to commence this video now, at this moment, with someone from the industry, a professional who needs to stand up. Suing the SEC over XRP futures and questioning the agency's ongoing claim that XRP is potentially a security, Crypto Derivatives Exchange sues the SEC over the agency's claims. She certainly has authority over her planned XRP futures contracts. What Eleanor Terrett reports here is indeed already a house of nonsense. The SEC is now claiming that XRP is somehow a security after all. Well, let's dive deeper into the topic. It also states the following. Bitnomial has reportedly submitted an application for XRP futures contracts to its primary regulatory authority, the CFTC, in August, which led the SEC to issue a threat that the exchange would be violating federal securities laws, as the agency considers XRP futures to be security futures. Bitnomial argues that XRP futures should be regulated exclusively under the CFTC SOS-EOS, as it is a futures product and a court has ruled that XRP is not a security. Read the full filing here. I'll show it to you briefly. It's legal English. Have fun with it. All links are below in the video description as always. Now let's move on, because that's not all. Now I want to talk about a point made by Brett Garlinghouse, who comments on the appearance of Marc Uyeda, SEC Commissioner, on Fox Business. The calls are coming from inside the House. Commissioner Marc Uyeda calls the SEC's approach to cryptocurrencies a disaster. And just like that, indeed, the government agency is suing Cumberland for operating as an unregistered securities dealer. This circus must come to an end. And he is probably more than right, Marco. Everyone said in this interview within 40 seconds that the SEC's policy is a disaster under the chairman, that it causes chaos, that they have not enforced any regulation, and that no one knows how to register there. This is about use and against an entire industry. I almost dared to bet my hat that when Gary Gensler eventually leaves his position, the other two commissioners who were appointed by the Democrats will also likely disappear to some, I don't know, crypto law firms or something. It is simple. Well, let's go to Cumberland. What is that? Cumberland, a global leader that provides 24/7 access to high crypto liquidity. No investment advice, disclosures, but then let's go straight to the homepage of Cumberland. And what do we read here? Well, Goldman Sachs and Nomura entrusted Cumberland to provide liquidity for their initial trades in the crypto ecosystem. Goldman Sachs, 2021. Aha. Nomura is starting to trade crypto derivatives, joining rivals Goldman and JP Morgan. Goldman Sachs offers investors Bitcoin derivatives from Bloomberg News. And then I will jump right ahead, because James Murphy has reacted as he does in all these legal disputes. And then they specifically came for Cumberland, a cryptocurrency asset market maker that traded on its own account as a principal. The SEC allegedly claims that Cumberland should have been registered as a securities dealer due to its derivatives trading. All crypto market participants are now increasingly in the crosshairs. Ripple was the first, and they had to fight alone for over 3 years while the entire industry simply said, tough luck. Well, that's not the case, because now the SEC is after everyone, especially exchanges, and now the market makers. It's indeed hard to believe. Bitnomial, Cumberland, what's next? But let's stick with that for now and return to Justin Slaughter, who has also shared his 2 cents on the matter. And they are indeed interesting. At this point, I would welcome it if Chairman Gary Gensler would simply say openly what he reportedly says in private. That he is trying to destroy crypto for the benefit of other markets, and that he is willing to wager the regulatory powers of the SEC. Before this Supreme Court, the highest court of the United States. While he sings happy birthday tonight, it is more than obvious that Gary Gensler is pursuing an agenda here. And now let's look beyond the horizon at what is happening. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, the banks. Gary Gensler was the youngest partner at Goldman Sachs, who was said to have always been the smartest person in the room. All right. But now, let's come back to the metal, LawMan. We need to take a look at what is happening here, because in 2021, the SEC has chosen its next tough opponent. What? Here we are. James Murphy. Cumberland is a large trading company that has been around for over 30 years. They have the resources to fight against the SEC. Cumberland accepted Gary Gensler's invitation to come in and register, and it backfired, just like with every other crypto player. This document is worth reading. And then we move on to Stefan Huber from Switzerland, best regards, who has also reported on this. Gary Gensler makes it very clear that Bitcoin and Ethereum are indeed the only SEC-compliant crypto projects. How can this be legal? This is indeed nothing more than an unabashed contemporary attempt at monopoly, specifically by JP Morgan. And here he has circled simply the statement from Cumberland. Only then, despite Gary Gensler's call to just come in and register, were we told we could only use our broker-dealer to trade Bitcoin or Ethereum, both commodities, and not under the jurisdiction of the SEC. Here, Cumberland clearly states what the SEC has told them. I don't know if they have already been sued. I assume it is a Wells notice communication. Incredible. It stinks to high heaven. Let's indeed stay with JP Morgan, which Stefan Huber has emphasized so clearly. Ashley Prosper. Below you will find an email from November 5th, 2020, regarding a discussion among various delegates from FinHub involving the SEC, FINRA, and JP Morgan. The subject of the email is JPM ESEC FINRA. It discusses DLT-based intraday repo transactions and refers to a discussion about the use of distributed ledger technology in intraday repo transactions, an area of financial innovation associated with blockchain technology. The email was sent by Debbie A. Tunnies on behalf of Valerie Schepenik, a notably key person involved in the important digital asset policy at the SEC, to several significant delegates, suggesting that JP Morgan and other regulatory bodies like the SEC and FINRA and other relevant entities coordinated discussions about this technology just before the Ripple lawsuit. The focus is specifically on how DLT can be applied to intraday repo transactions, which are short-term loan agreements typically used for liquidity in the financial markets. In 2001, once again JP Morgan And once again, the rumor or increasing indications that Jay Clayton, who is now somehow connected with the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, which has significant ties to JP Morgan, is filing a lawsuit to give JP Morgan a window of time to catch up. In my opinion, they have not succeeded. They won't either. Ripple is ahead, because while this legal dispute has been ongoing for almost 4 years, Ripple simply continues to move forward and expand its network. It's the best thing they could do, and it is the best thing they are doing. Let's move away from this story. Cumberland is over 30 years old. Let's talk about a bank. Let's stick with banks in 2001, like one that is 172 years old. And then I just come to this post. C-SPAN reports on Attorney General Mr. Garland, stating that by making her services convenient for criminals, she became one herself. Today, TD Bank is the largest bank in U.S. history to plead guilty to the failures of its 2021 Secrecy Act programs and the first bank in history to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering. And then we will move on to the reaction from Mark Phillips. In a shocking turn of events, TD Bank was penalized with a hefty fine of $3 billion today for money laundering. But the problem is in the financial sector, particularly with crypto startups. It is time for Operation Choke Point to end. Focus on the real criminals and let the USA lead in fintech innovation. And again, we come to the question of why Gary Gensler is in this position. Because he knows blockchain, because he knows how to argue, and he just follows through. Elizabeth Warren, a Democrat, is very far left. She advocates for a central bank digital currency US dollar because America is ready for it, as she stated herself in an interview. Why Ripple? Because Ripple has brought the technology to the market and has XRP, which in itself is not a security, as the tool to send transactions openly, cleanly, quickly, and cheaply around the world. Speaking of affordability, we must continually ask ourselves why banks are so against crypto. Well, a lot of business is probably being lost, so I did a little Googling. I actually wanted to know how much in fines JP Morgan has paid since the founding of Bitcoin. I didn't find anything else except for a number. An article from the MZ of the Mitteldeutsche Zeitung. Check it out. In first place are fines between 2009 and 2014. Bank of America with $27.2 billion and JP Morgan in second place in the same period with $21.9 billion. Reasons: concealment of risks, interest manipulation, bribery, money laundering, aiding tax evasion. And crypto is the evil. Decide for yourselves. Decide for yourselves, and while you do that, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your attention. I sincerely wish you to become, be, and remain healthy. And maybe we'll see each other today in the live stream at 7:30 p.m. Until then, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Ciao, friends.